and welcome to our first lecture on verbs. Verbs are words that express an action, okay? Or they state that something exists, something is, or they link the subject in a sentence with a description of it. Okay? A sentence cannot exist without a verb. If you do not have a verb in the sentence, it's not a complete sentence. It is what we would call a fragment. We tend to divide verbs up into two categories, action verbs and linking verbs. And we divide them based on what they're doing in the sentence. Are they stating something exists or linking the subject in the sentence with a description of it? Those would be linking verbs. If they express an action, then they're action verbs. So they're grouped purely by what the function of the verb in this sentence is. What is its job? Action verbs, okay, are telling you what the subject is doing. Okay, so if you find out the subject in your sentence, you can find who or what the sentence is about, and then you ask yourself, well, what are they doing in the sentence? You have an action verb. Action verbs name an action. Harold painted the fence. Harold is who the sentence is about. Harold's our subject. What is Harold doing while he's painting? He painted. Okay, the fact that he painted the fence is a noun, it's what he painted, but the action, what he's doing, is actually the painting, so that's your verb. Miguel studied all weekend for the test. Who or what is this sentence about? Well, it's about Miguel and what Miguel is doing. What is Miguel doing? Miguel studied. Okay, so studied is your verb, and it is an action verb. Studying is something you do. Action verbs can express visible actions, things that we can see the subject doing, such as writing, running, jumping, dancing, playing, catching, throwing, etc. Or they can be mental actions. There's still something being done, we just don't necessarily see the subject doing it. Verbs like thinking or remembering are mental actions. Studying is a mental action. Studying means to learn information. So learning is a mental skill, is a mental action, not something we can see. Many times students have difficulty confusing mental actions with linking verbs. Just remember that something the subject's doing. If something you do, then it's an action, whether you can see it or not see it. A linking verb does one of two things. It states that something exists or is, okay? And or it usually then describes that subject. We'll connect the subject with a noun or an adjective following the verb or in the predicate that's going to tell us about the subject. So John McGraw was the manager. Our sentence is about John McGraw, okay? The verb is was, and it's a linking verb, okay? It's saying John McGraw exists, or he did exist, and he existed as the manager. It's connecting the noun manager to our subject, John McGraw. Mrs. Davis seems friendly. Mrs. Davis is who our subject is about, who our sentence is about, so it's the subject. The verb is seems. Seems is one of those verbs. It's a linking verb that says Mrs. Davis is existing in this manner. This is how she's existing, and she's existing in a way that's friendly. She seems friendly. It's linking friendly to Mrs. Davis. Seems being the verb. The cat is a beautiful Persian. Again, the subject is cat. It's what our sentence is about. Is our verb. Is linking cat to the kind of cat she is. Persian, describing the cat for us, telling us specifically what kind. She's a Persian cat. Okay, and again, is saying the cat exists. The cat is, and it is a Persian. It exists as a Persian breed. Okay, the most common linking verb is the be verb. Okay, and the forms of be, the singular forms in present tense, am, are, is. Past tense, was and were, and then plural, are and were for past tense. Are is present tense, were is past tense. These words, there's not that many. There's 5. Is, am, are, was, were. You should memorize those. Know that they're verbs. Whenever you see them, they're a verb. If they're on their own with no other verb following them, they're a linking verb. They can have verbs after them, such as Harold is painting the fence, in which case it'd be a helping verb. But it's still a verb. They're only ever verbs. So if you can recognize these words in a sentence, is, am, are, was, and were, as verbs, you will make your life a lot easier because you will find your verbs more easily if you know that. The only thing they can ever be is verbs. So, for your assignment, you are to write 2 sentences. The first sentence should have an action verb. The other sentence should have a linking verb. You must identify the verb in each of your sentences. You can bold it, you can underline it, I don't care. Just identify what the verb in your sentence is and then tell me if it's the action verb or if it's the linking verb. Keep your sentences short and simple. Limit yourself to 1 verb in your sentence.